Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode, the second episode of Speaking on Sunday, where I discuss or actually answer questions that have been given to me through LinkedIn. So please keep the questions coming. I've had a few messaged to me already, or when I do my Unleash Your Message, how to tell stories that inspire and inform the world workshop, I get a lot of questions from audience members there. And so I share them here on LinkedIn and YouTube with you. And here's a question that I actually never anticipated, but makes a lot of sense. And that the question is, how do you control your emotions on stage, especially when you're telling a very deeply personal and sometimes emotional, very deep, cutting story? That makes sense. For a lot of us, we speak about topics we're passionate about. We've had things happen to us, some of them not so pleasant, but they might be essential to our storyline when we're talking. And here's my rule of thumb when it comes to that. Here's my rule of thumb, and it is, if you cannot control your emotions on stage, so you start to break down crying, you become inaudible, you go to a dark place, or maybe it just freezes you in the moment, you maybe need to consider the fact that you're not ready to tell that story yet. How do you get ready to tell that story? Number one, first and foremost, time heals all wounds. So sometimes you just need more time between the event and you telling it on stage. Practicing it, so you can join a Toastmasters club, or get some at bats at some local engagements. Always kind of a place to maybe test that out, especially groups that might be directly related to what you're speaking about, right? So if using me as a case, I tell a lot of stories about discrimination based on ability that have happened in my life and negative things. I never really had the problem with controlling my emotions on stage, although sometimes I came off as too angry. But talking to groups who dealt with disability was a good place for me to practice and get feedback. And so, sometimes going in that realm will help. But I think time and getting the practice in are the biggest things. And sometimes you have to question if this story is really essential to your speech. Sometimes we want to tell the dramatic story, the tragic story, because we feel that it's going to get an emotional response out of the audience, and it very well might. That part might be bang on. But sometimes you have to question whether it really needs to be in the speech. And so if you can look at those three elements, and probably the fourth I would add in some cases, and you know the answer is better than I do, in your own life, is this something you might need counseling for because you haven't processed it properly yet? You haven't sort of gotten closure on it. So if you can do those four things, then I think you're ready to tell emotional stories on stage. And it's okay to not be emotionally ready. I think we sometimes think we have to sort of give this perfect performance. I'm not saying be wooden on stage. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying tell an emotional story that's supposed to be emotional and tell it like a robot. We don't want that either. It's okay to show emotion. It's okay to do that, but you have to do it in a very controlled way. You have to do it in a way that you have control and command over everything that's going on stage. So that's the biggest word here. It's about control. I can talk about things that have happened to me that I didn't like, that hurt me, that sometimes even made me cry, but I'm not going to do that on stage. And if I do, it's because I know I can and still move the story forward. Personally, I'm not a big crier on stage. I just got to temper down the anger. It's the Italian Sicilian blood in me, but you know the answer to that better than I do. But that's what I would do. Get some practice, get some closure, and determine whether it really needs to be in your speech. If you can do that, I think you're on your way to inserting some really powerful and emotional stories that are personal to you and get your message across in your speech. That is my episode for this week. Please leave your comments below. Ask any questions you have in the realm of public speaking, the business of speaking, or stage performance, whatever you want. I will get to them in a future video, or sometimes I'll even reply to you directly on the spot. I will see you all next week.